Hello, welcome to the Endgame, or How to Successfully Meet Thesis Dissertation Requirements. I'm Roman Kashikar, Graduate Services Coordinator at the RIT Libraries. Here is an agenda for this presentation. First, I'll inform you of the purpose of presenting this information to you. Then I will introduce the online thesis submission guide, the most important resource for you outside of this presentation itself. I will discuss how to submit your work to ProQuest. Then I will explain the requirements for your document that the library staff enforce. They have to do with your signature page, title page, and abstract. I will introduce you to Scholarworks, RIT's institutional repository, where your work will be represented for a global audience. I'll briefly explain the concept of placing an embargo on a thesis and tell you how to apply for an embargo should your work require one. And finally, I'll mention a few other points of interest. At RIT, as at most any university, the library plays an important role, as a repository for the scholarly work produced by our faculty and our students. In the past, the library physically housed bound copies of all doctoral dissertations and master's theses authored by RIT graduate students. Now we publish theses and dissertations in digital format, but we still take steps to organize and preserve them so that they can be found and read widely. The process of submitting your finished thesis or dissertation for publication can be confusing. In this presentation, I will clarify the important steps of the process and instruct you on where to get answers for your questions. Please be advised that this presentation only describes the guidelines and procedures that the library follows for final publication. Your department may have its own guidelines regarding things like format, citation style, and the use of publishing templates. Please consult your primary advisor or contact your department's office to obtain that information. The single most important resource for learning the thesis submission procedure is the Thesis Services Submission Guide. This can be found on the library website. Browse for thesis and dissertation support under Research Help, or search the site for the term thesis submission. You may also go directly to the address displayed on this slide. In fact, I recommend making a note of this URL and visiting it once the presentation concludes. Here is a screenshot of the thesis submission guide. The main page provides instructions on submitting your work, plus contact information for library staff members who can assist you in this process. There are multiple pages to this guide as seen in the index along the left-hand side. Note that we provide some guidelines on how to format your work, special instructions for students completing capstones or master's projects, information on embargo requests, binding information should you choose to have a print copy of your thesis or dissertation bound as a book, information for graduate students at RIT's global campuses, and an FAQ. Institute policy states that you must submit an electronic version of your thesis or dissertation to the ProQuest system in order to fulfill your graduation requirements. By submitting your work to the ProQuest system, your thesis or dissertation will eventually appear in the ProQuest Dissertations and Theses Global database, which is available via subscription to libraries around the world. RIT Libraries is a subscriber to this database. We use another ProQuest product called ETD Admin to facilitate the submission process. Use RIT's ETD Admin website to create an account and follow the prompts to complete your submission. The URL is displayed on this slide. It is important that your final document be the one that is submitted through ProQuest. This means you have successfully defended your thesis and received the signatures of your full advisory committee prior to submitting. There are detailed ProQuest submission guidelines available on the Thesis Submission Guide. You can download these from the Submission Instructions page or the Guidelines page. It is highly recommended that you view the entire ProQuest submission document found on the Thesis Submission Guide. To save time, I am showing just page 3 of this document on this slide, as there are some important instructions to note here. You must upload a PDF version of your full thesis or dissertation, which includes the names of your advisors and committee members, but not their signatures. More on this point later. You must also upload a separate PDF of just the signature page with the signatures of all members of your advisory committee as a supplemental file. This single-page PDF is proof to the library staff that you have successfully defended your thesis or dissertation. It is not published. It will be stored on a secure server accessible only by the library staff. Upon completing your submission, you receive an email confirmation that your submission has been received. This is simply sent for your information. Once your submission has been reviewed and approved by the library, you will receive a second email stating, "Congratulations, your thesis has been accepted." It is this second email which provides proof of acceptance that you must forward to your department as proof that you have completed the necessary step of publishing your thesis. The administrative staff in your department can then certify you for graduation from RIT. In this part of the presentation, I will explain a few requirements for your thesis document that the library checks for in your submission. First, let's discuss the signature page. Handling the signature page is a crucial part of the process and requires special explanation. Within the pagination of your thesis PDF, include a signature page without scanned or e-signed signatures from each member of your committee. You should still identify the members of your committee by name and title, as readers of your thesis will want to know who served on the committee. Prepare a second copy of this page with the scanned or e-signed signatures included, and save this as a single-page PDF. This file is to be submitted in ProQuest as a supplemental file. The supplemental signature page with the signatures applied indicate to the library that your thesis is complete and has been granted approval. The library also requires a title page containing certain key information about your thesis work. Not every title page must follow an exact template. However, the following elements must be included so that descriptive metadata can be added to the database records representing your thesis. Be sure to include the following: the full title of your thesis, your name as you wish it to appear in publication, a statement about the nature of your work, whether it is a thesis or dissertation, submitted in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the exact name of your degree. Include the full current name of the department or school your program is housed in, and the full current name of the college your program is housed in. Include the name of your campus, either the full name Rochester Institute of Technology or RIT. If you are studying at an RIT Global campus, please instead use the name of that campus. For instance, RIT Dubai. And finally, include the date your thesis or dissertation was completed. This can be an exact date, a month and a year, or simply the year. The library includes an abstract in the database records representing your thesis or dissertation. The abstract you provide in your document is copied for this purpose. It is important to identify the abstract explicitly. If possible, include it on its own page. At minimum, please clearly label it with the term abstract. Once your submitted thesis or dissertation has been accepted through ProQuest, the library will copy it to Scholarworks. Scholarworks is the RIT institutional repository containing, among other things, graduate theses, dissertations, capstones, and projects. Just to reiterate, you do not submit your work directly to Scholarworks. The library will provide this service for you. Your work will be available globally in Scholarworks as it is an open access repository. You can create an account in Scholarworks if you wish to receive reports by email detailing how often your work is accessed and downloaded by interested researchers. Here's an image of Scholarworks' main page for graduate theses and dissertations. Each individual work is given its own record on a page with a stable URL that you can distribute to colleagues or post on your resume. The title, abstract, and names of your advisory committee are included in the Scholarworks record. This information is copied from the submission in ProQuest. The PDF of your thesis is also copied from ProQuest to Scholarworks. Occasionally, on a case-by-case basis, some theses or dissertations must be granted a temporary protection from being downloaded. This is known as an embargo. Embargoes only apply to a handful of theses and dissertations at RIT every year, but if your work requires special protection, you must apply for an embargo before your work is submitted to ProQuest. Embargoes can be granted for up to 12 months from the date of submission, and are most often granted when there is either proprietary information published in a thesis, or when a portion of your thesis is included in a patent application. In order to embargo your thesis or dissertation, you must apply using the form found on the embargoes page of the thesis submission guide. The application form is reviewed by your primary advisor and by the Dean of Graduate Education. If both your advisor and the dean approve and sign the application form, you will be granted an embargo. Be sure to indicate in your ProQuest submission that you have been granted an embargo. The Office of Graduate Education provides the signed and approved embargo forms to the library for verification purposes. Please note that while the text of your thesis is suppressed from view during an embargo, the record and abstract are still published. There are just a few more items I would like to bring to your attention before we conclude the presentation. Information on binding your thesis or dissertation in hard copy, the availability of writing assistance for graduate students working on theses or dissertations, and the application of copyright protection to your thesis or dissertation. Binding your thesis or dissertation is optional, but may be desired. There are fees associated with binding your work, and as of March 2020, the RIT libraries no longer provide any binding services. Please visit the binding information page on the guide for instructions on ordering bound copies. RIT's Writing Commons provides graduate writing consultations on a limited basis. It is recommended that you make an appointment with the Writing Commons well in advance of your defense. Writing consultations at the Writing Commons are intended to assist you with improving your writing and developing good writing strategies for your discipline. Sorry, but neither the writing consultants nor the librarians at RIT can provide copy editing or proofreading services to graduate students. According to U.S. law, you are the copyright owner for your thesis or dissertation as soon as it has been published. No further action is required. However, for students in certain creative fields, formal registration for copyright protection with the U.S. Copyright Office may be of interest. The website copyright.gov contains a wealth of information on how copyright protects your work and whether registering for formal copyright recognition is appropriate. Should this be of interest, you may opt to register for formal copyright recognition by selecting this option during the ProQuest submission process. Please be advised that ProQuest charges a $75 fee for filing the registration. Publishing your thesis or dissertation at the RIT libraries is not difficult and should pose few challenges if you have prepared in advance. By viewing this presentation, you have already learned the basics of the process. Please refer to the thesis submission guide found on the library website for full instructions as well as for sample title pages and signature pages, ProQuest submission instructions, and information on optional services such as print binding and embargoes. If at any time you have questions about the submission process, email etdlib@rit.edu for assistance. Thank you for your attention. This concludes the Endgame, or how to successfully meet thesis requirements.